I allow my resistance to allowing to be as it is. I welcome all resistance and difficulty in allowing it to be as it is. And any resistance to the resistance, I allow it all to be as it is. And open your eyes. So, the reason why I'm having you do this is because that is the heart. The heart is a metaphor for the great permission field of awareness. Love is the end of resistance. When what is. So it's so easy to love a puppy because we don't want them to be any different. Even if they poop on the floor, we're like, ah, right? But then with people, we want them to be different. And with ourselves, that is the hardest. So the heart is a metaphor for the open permission field of God consciousness, the complete allowing of everything to be as it is love. That is the heart. And when you allow it, the idea that these ideas that the heart was once this and I could feel better, feel what, and all of that, then that's just something which can be bathed in the awareness of your own being. So it's like an ice cube in the ocean and it's solid. And the sun of awareness is shines on it. That's what we're doing. We're shining the sun of consciousness onto whatever's blocked and it becomes consciousness. So I, I, I can't feel. We allow that. I'm resisting feeling. We allow that. My mind's saying, stop doing this. We allow that. I don't want to do this anymore. We allow that. We just keep, if there's no level beyond which you can't just keep allowing and it just dissolves because that the heart is the permission field. It's something, it's a practice. It's so the first practice, which was they're very similar. The first practice of the thought appearing, and we leave it as it is, the firework in the sky. That's a more cerebral and higher order practice. There's no hierarchy, but that's a slightly higher order practice. But when we have things that are very stuck deeply, they they're not available for that higher practice. So we have to come down into a more human, it's the same thing, but it's at the level of the body and the human self. I allow me to be as I am. I allow this burning sensation in my chest to be as it is. And that makes this practice go deeper into layers that can be extremely resistant to the more uh, cerebral practices. So it's like I combined the practice of Dzogchen into where that wasn't working for me. And I had lots of addictions, like, and behaviors that these cerebral practices, I could leave it as it is. I'll be very brief. I could leave the result of what I did as it is. So let's say I had a craving for a cigarette. I would smoke it. And then with the cerebral practice, I would leave the result as it is. And happiness was there even while I was addicted. And it was more with food, actually. So even while I was going through this addiction, I was free. The empowerment comes from letting the craving sensations in the body I'm allowed to crave. I'm allowed to want. I'm allowed to hurt. I'm allowed to have this burning desire. This is the same practice, but bringing it more into a human layer. I call it conscious allowing, and it's really powerful. Like your body, we spoke about Kundalini earlier. This can start causing kriyas, which is when your body starts shaking like that because it starts releasing. A lot of this isn't spoken about so much in non-duality because it's working on the level of emptiness. But I just found that sometimes these it's just we're allowed to do whatever we want, and I just found bringing it into a more closer to my uh, illusory identity was beneficial. So really try it. Really try it. When you have something that's really strong and difficult, you just give yourself, I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to be frustrated. I'm allowed, I welcome it. As consciousness, I welcome myself to be however it is. You are welcome here. Because no one says that to us. We've not heard that since we was about 8 months old. And then some might not have even heard it then. So we say it to ourselves like a puppy. Like a puppy. You're perfect as you are. You're perfect as you are. Yeah. Explore that. Explore it for let us know how you get along. There's lineages which are beautiful, and I do follow lineages and study them quite a bit. But there's also whatever works. When I say whatever works, I don't mean whatever fixes, because sometimes when I talk about that process, I leave you with the impression, and it's an error, but I can correct it. I leave you with the impression that change is the goal, but it isn't. Allowing is the goal, and that's instant. Allowing is the goal, not the change. As soon as you want it to change, you're no longer allowing. You can't do both. You can't allow a sensation to be there and say, I allow you to be here. I hope you leave. That's like if a friend came around, you're like, oh, it's so great to see you. What time are you leaving? You can't, like, can't be both. So sometimes I say things like this. I'll say, I allow this to be here eternally. I allow this to be here eternally. I still wake up with this called sort of exercise, a physical discomfort. It feels like just a very old trauma type vibe that just feels very uncomfortable. And I welcome it. It's part of my vibration, and it's totally comfortable for it to be there. I'm not going to try and change it because I've done that for years. It didn't help. So you have a body mind. You are the proud owner of a body mind, and you didn't choose it, and you didn't create it, and you didn't build in the causes and conditions. They all came from wherever they come from, but they are yours. You awareness, they are yours. So I highly advise you make absolute best friends with this body mind you have. And the first thing to do that is say, you know what? You are welcome here as you are. That's the starting point. You're welcome as you are, all of it. All of it. Nothing is left out. Nothing is left out of awareness. Awareness doesn't leave anything out. It's all awareness. It's all included. It's all the self, the bliss self. It's all the absolute. No errors. Perfect as it is. I normally keep a crystal ball around to remind me, but I don't have it at the moment. So that doesn't help. I'll get it for next time. Yeah. It's that throne, of pure consciousness. I welcome everything. It's such a powerful asana. So if you've ever heard Patanjali Sutras, and there's number 2, which is yoga, chitta, vritti, namroda, right? And they often say that that describes all of yoga. And what that means, it means the union yoga of chitta, pure consciousness, and vritti, the movements of mind, thoughts, emotions, experiences, sensations. Yoga is the mastery of pure consciousness and the movements. And lots of people have misinterpreted this. I feel like I've said this a lot today, and I don't want to disrespect the years of effort that people have made. But from my perspective of looking at my direct experience from a clear state, I believe that there's errors because they look at it as mastery, because Sanskrit is such a vague language in many ways. They look at it as mastery, as in control. When you can control the mind movements, then that's yoga. But mastery doesn't mean that. Mastery means to be the master of. Like, I let it be as it is. I'm not phased by this movement. My yoga is that I am the consciousness, and the movement is indivisible. They're not two, and I see that in every moment. That is a much more readily available mastery than trying to stop the movements of the mind. That is foolishness. So I believe, from my experience, I understand what Patanjali was saying, because you can practice this. You can't stop your mind. That, I think Eckhart Tolle says he can stop his mind for 7 seconds, and he's quite a meditative guy. 7 seconds. I don't know what the world record is. It's maybe 8, but 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 you can allow it to be as it is for short moments that are longer than that. And if you keep doing it, they become continuous. Allowing the mastery. And the reason why this subject popped into my mind is because I mentioned the word asana. So in yoga, in the Patanjali script, there is no asanas, right? But there is the word asana. And I might be taking a leap of faith here, but I think the primary asana is the posture, the throne of awareness, the ultimate posture of being at rest as awareness, having mastery over the appearances. And this takes practice. It's everyone's different. Some people have very calm vitri. I'm not very good at pronouncing Sanskrit. Vritti, right? They're very calm, and it's a lot easier for them to rest with that. And some people, like myself, it's all kicking off. Like, you know, it's never calm, but I am calm because that's the mastery. The mastery doesn't rely on your causes and conditions. If it depended on your causes and conditions, then it would be non-democratic. It would be easier for some people than others. But all of it is, as we said in the very beginning of this satsang, it's all empty with arbitrary labels. So my or someone's extreme appearances of mind are just as empty as someone's serene experiences of mind. The storm on the screen and the sunset on the screen are equal as screen. And as I said, and we'll get to the end here. Oh, there's one more question from May. We'll do that. So the understanding is key, but the practice is essential. And this means you have to be willing to test it. And when I said earlier that you make a choice, you're sitting there and okay, so I'll give you an example. I was working on my bicycle today, and this thing kept slipping and something was pulling out, and I felt myself going like, which is how my character used to be all the time. Like, I find it so funny now, right? But like getting angry at a bicycle, right? Because it wouldn't stand up. I felt it coming up, and but I just I look at it, I go, oh, that's funny, right? And that's the mastery, right? Not I'm gonna like that's not gonna happen. How can it be? I spent 20 years being annoyed at everything. It's still there, and I'm like, it's just so funny when you look, and then I sometimes get excited, but then you feel compassion for the bicycle. Okay, I'm going to be off topic. I think that answered your question. I hope it did.